If you're just starting out in bird photography, I'm here to save you years of frustration. Here are 10 things that I wish I knew when I started so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Let's dive in. Number one is that beginners come in all shapes and budgets. I recently went to a birding festival and there was somebody there that was a beginner that had the best gear on the market, Nikon. And they had a Z8 with a big fancy lens, and they had it for over a year and a half, and they had no idea that it had bird eye tracking. They were still a beginner. It didn't matter that they were using the best gear on the planet. The person is still a beginner. So don't worry, don't be looking at gear. If you're a beginner, no matter what you got, we all start somewhere. We all have different budgets. It's all about having fun. Number two is that everybody has a different opinion on camera settings. On your journey, you're gonna watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos and everybody's gonna tell you something different, and that's okay. You should be encouraged to try them all. Try everything out and learn what works best for you. If you're getting the photos that you like, you're getting the results that you want, those are the settings that you like. I have my Nikon Z8 set up with a whole bunch of custom buttons that I really like, and it gets me the shots that I like. The person next to me may not have the same thing. Nothing wrong with that. I highly encourage you to go out there and learn as much as you can, but when you reach a point where you like what you like, and then you start hearing other opinions about how that's wrong, back button focusing doesn't exist, it's not real, it's not good. If you like back button focusing and it works for you, then back button focus all day. Some people shoot in manual modes, some people like aperture priority, some people like shutter priority. If you're happy with your shots, you're good to go. But don't let that hold you back from still learning. Learn from others, but if you find what you like, dial it in. Nothing wrong with it. Number three is that gear matters, but not in the way you might think. On your journey, you're gonna hear very constantly that gear doesn't matter. The camera that you have is the best camera. That is true, I think, for some genres. Don't think that's true for bird photography. If you're given a Nikon D3400 with a 20mm lens, is that the right tool to be using for bird photography? Can you use it for bird photography? Yes, you can. But I can also take a nail and put it into a piece of wood without a hammer. I can use my hand. It's gonna suck, but I could do it. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. That especially in bird or just wildlife photography in general, you want to have the right tool for the job. If you're just out shooting landscapes, portraits, or anything like that, doesn't matter what your budget is. If you just got a 50mm, a nifty 50 with whatever camera, it's going to be great. But my journey with purchasing camera equipment, I started at the very beginning 8 years ago with a D3400 and the kit lens, which is an 18-55. I knew nothing about focal lengths. I was like, why can't I zoom in? I don't understand. Why can't I get real close? I knew nothing. And I was really disappointed with that. So then I bought I think it was a Nikon 70-300mm, and I was still disappointed. I still couldn't get close. I heard all the rage about micro four thirds and the crop factor, how it doubles your focal length. So I got a Lumix G85 with a 100-300, which was really a 200-600. I had it made. No, that was also the wrong tool for the job of bird photography. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. That's why I'm making this video. It wasn't until about 3 or 4 years into my journey that I got a Nikon D7500 with a 200-500, and that was the best. I love that setup. I still recommend that setup for somebody who's a beginner. It was awesome. I had the opportunity to capture the shots that I saw online that the pros were getting. That's ambitious, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get those shots. But with the tool that I had, it was possible. It was possible to do it. And that inspired me to go out every day. I was out every day in a kayak shooting at the time. I loved it. And I still love it today. When I wasn't shooting with the right gear, those were 3 wasted years because I wasn't out shooting. I wasn't enjoying myself. I didn't like it at all. That's why I don't like the whole, whatever camera you got's the best. I'm not really into that. I think the right tool for the job, that's the best one. And I know that everybody has a different budget, but I'll talk about that in a later tip. Let's move on for now. Number 4 is that social media is a separate skill. It doesn't mean your photos suck. If you post a photo on Instagram and it gets 0 likes, it doesn't mean you're a bad photographer. It might just mean you're not great at social media, but social media is a whole other skill separate from photography. There are some incredible photographers out there that are well known and have big names that aren't big on social media. Don't let the metrics of social media judge your photography. If you like your photos, if complete strangers are saying your photos are good, your photos are probably good. And you should hold your head high because that is a way better compliment than something online. Don't let the vanity metrics trick you. That is something that I still deal with because I am a bird photographer, but I've moved more into I'm also a content creator. So those two things in my mind are separate. And I think if you're going to get into this, you should keep those two things separate. If you have a passion for content creation, go after that, but recognize that it's not a direct correlation to how good or how bad you are. Like I said, there's some people that win wildlife photographer of the year, bird photographer of the year, that don't have any social media presence, but they are fantastic photographers. So don't get all caught up in the vanity metrics of social media. Number 5 is to shoot close to home. I think when we all start out, we all got these big dreams. We want to go shoot polar bears, grizzly bears. We want to go to Africa. And then you kind of stop shooting because, oh, I can't go out and get the big animals. I can't shoot the wolves or the bison or the eagles. Shooting close to home is going to make you a way better photographer. Go out and shoot every day. There was at one point, and I kick myself for this all the time. There was at one point, it was 2021. That thing was going on that, we all had to deal with at that time. And that was back when TikTok was really taking off. And I had TikTok downloaded. And for that whole time when it was super easy to go viral, really easy to get your name out there, I didn't do anything because I was in a predicament where there was only chickadees around me. I was living and working a job where there was only chickadees. And I was like, I'm not going out and shooting chickadees every day. That's boring. Nobody's going to care about that. What a mistake that was. And I kick myself all the time for doing that. That was like 6 months that I could have been growing my brand. What I should have done was become the chickadee guy. I should have been going out every day trying to capture the best photos of chickadees that I possibly could. And that's what I encourage you to do. If you don't have any wildlife around, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I can't be a bird or wildlife photographer, there's nothing here. I got robins. You take the best photo of a robin any of us have ever seen. Get creative. Take photos of common birds and make them uncommon. Get creative. Don't let that hold you back. If you can take an amazing photo of a robin that nobody's ever seen before, that's incredible. That makes you an amazing storyteller, an amazing photographer. Do not let that hold you back. Do not be like me and waste all that time when you could be growing, you could be learning. Oh, I regret that so much. That's probably my biggest regret in my list that I got here. Like, what a waste. Just thinking back of where I could be now. But you know what? We all learn, we all move forward. And now that lesson is shared with you. So don't make that mistake. I'll be mad at you. Tip number 6 may not apply to all of you, but it did to me. When I was younger, I think like a lot of you, I had dreams of being a professional wildlife photographer. It was something I really wanted. And so for tip number 6, you need to recognize that if you want that, professional wildlife photography is 50% photography, 50% running a business. You're not just a photographer, you are a business owner. A professional wildlife photographer isn't just good at taking great photos, they're also good at marketing, networking, public speaking. All of the big business skills that you need all need to be jam-packed. You need to be good at both. And that's something within the last couple years that I've only just learned and started to find a passion for. I love bird photography, but I also love growing my business. Again, this tip might not be for everybody, but if you are somebody who wants to go pro, you need to recognize that because it might not be for you. You might love taking photos and want to be a pro, but when you get down to the nitty-gritty of what running a business really is, it may not be for you. But if it is for you, it's lots of fun. I highly encourage it. I love it. Number 7 is to learn composition early. It is more important than the gear you use. Composition is what makes or breaks a photo. It is what causes somebody to sit there and stare at your image. It's what stops somebody from scrolling. It's what stops somebody from switching the channel. It's what really draws the viewer's eye into the image. Your photo can be a little blurry, a little hazy, just not may have the best looking subject, but if it's got great composition, it may cause me to stop and stare at it for a moment. Composition is so important. And I wish that I had moved away from the rule of thirds earlier. I wish I had looked at art pieces earlier in my journey. Looking how artists or painters compose their images is something I would highly encourage you to do. And there's nothing wrong with the rule of thirds. If you are a beginner and you know nothing about what I'm talking about, just look up the rule of thirds, use that for quite a little while. But when you're ready and you get really comfortable with it, go to the more advanced stuff. Look at the golden triangles, the spirals, all of that. That is going to help you tell way better stories and will make you a way better photographer. Number 8 is to get creative as soon as you can. Show the people something new. I love bird on a stick photos where the bird is nice and sharp and the background is just perfect and creamy and beautiful. But how many times has that been done already? How many times have we seen that bird on a perch in a photo? As a beginner, definitely go out. I encourage you, capture some bird on a stick photos and love them. But as time goes on, because this is where I'm at right now, I wish I had started to think in this mindset earlier. And that's to start, I mentioned it earlier in this video, to capture uncommon photos of common birds or common wildlife that you see around. Go for the uncommon. Get creative. What stories can you tell that haven't already been told with wildlife? Get deep. So for number 9, this relates to what I talked about earlier in the video about having the right gear, and that's if you can't afford the gear, if you can't get the right tools, I would highly suggest shooting something else. I just want to put out there that I'm not trying to discourage anybody from following their dreams. I would never do that. I can only speak from my own experience, and when I first started, I wish I hadn't wasted so much money on the tools that I didn't need. I wish I just bought a used camera off Facebook Marketplace, got a nifty 50, and just started shooting everything. I wish I had shot everything. And then when I had the money, I would just buy that D7500 with the 200 to 500, and I would have been set. Instead, I wasted so much time and so much money on equipment I didn't want or need because I knew I only wanted to shoot wildlife. So I wish I had just used my phone for those first few years as I was saving up the money to get the right tool. Because if you're shooting something else, if you're shooting landscapes with your phone or portraits, you're still learning all the same skills. You're learning composition, you're learning lighting, you're learning storytelling. You're still learning all the right skills so that when you go to pick up that camera that you want so badly, you're picking up that tool that is the right tool for the job of wildlife or bird photography. You're going to be ready. You're going to be ready to go. And when you pick it up and start shooting, you're already going to know the basics. You're already going to know the fundamentals. You're going to have a great foundation. So that's just something I would encourage. You don't have to follow that advice. You can think that I'm wrong. I can only speak from my own experience, and it's something that I wish that I had done. And for number 10, the last and final tip is to learn editing ASAP, right now. Stop watching this video and go watch one of my editing videos. I got one right here for you. Check that out after this one. I avoided Lightroom Classic for so long. I was intimidated by it. I didn't want to pay that monthly fee. I thought it was complicated and I was just always nervous about it. And I wasted a couple of years not doing it. I was trying to find, the free versions or ways to get around it. What's a cheaper version? You know what? Lightroom and Photoshop are the gold standard for a reason. I wish I had started it earlier. I wish I hadn't wasted a couple of years trying to find the simple solutions or the hacks to get around it. Lightroom Classic, Photoshop, go for it. Again, check out that video. Well, folks, that's all I got for you today. And if you are new, I hope you found something helpful. And if you're not new and you enjoyed this video, I want to know, what do you wish that you knew before you started bird photography? What's something you wish somebody had told you near the beginning? Share it with me in the comments. And if you're still watching, I got a little freebie for you. I got a free bird photography cheat sheet down there, link in the description below. It'll help you beginners out. It's a good little tool. Goodbye.